The adoption of a European-appearing Jesus in 1940 in the United States has everything to do with the current racial environment. In the United States in 1940, the image of Jesus was adopted as a European-appearing white man. Now, the image I have at the beginning of this video is called the Head of Christ and was created by a U.S. artist named Warner Sallman. And in 1940, that image was distributed all over the United States. 14 million copies of that image were given to soldiers during World War II. And by the year 2000, over 500 million copies of that image were distributed. They were placed in schools, they were placed in churches, they were everywhere. And the reason that that image was adapted, according to my research, was as a symbol of power and to establish a racial hierarchy here in the United States, with white people at the head and the top of that hierarchy. That being said, that meant that no other race in the United States would be equal to whites. Some people often say that President Barack Obama is responsible for the racial division we see now in the United States. Well, that's not true. It was the reaction to President Barack Obama of people that held the view that no one would be equal to whites in the United States that caused the division. And the reaction result was Donald Trump to try to reverse that. So when you take into account the Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act and the swift action by the southern state legislatures to basically gerrymander the ability of minority areas to choose their own representation, all this becomes more understandable, because some probably construed or interpreted Barack Obama being president as blasphemy. Because if they won't pray in the name of a non-white Jesus, which is probably the case given the biblical description of hair like wool, feet like bronze, and obviously all this in the Bible took place in the Middle East, where people just naturally aren't white in most cases. So if they won't pray with the image of a non-white Jesus in their head, then they don't want the reality of non-whites to be their equal and having a say in running this country. So it shouldn't be any mystery how swiftly the hard-fought gains that came up through the civil rights movement, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the deaths, the dogs, the water hoses, and everything were so quickly wiped away, is because of these people being on top of the heap from a racial standpoint is a religious matter.